Isn't that exactly the problem? Old people are not untech savvy, but I think it is more about designing the user experience in a way that's intuitive enough that customers of all ages would know how to use them. Being able to lend digitally allow us to lend cheaply and to everyone. So that for us, the cost to process a loan that is $1 versus $100 is the same cost. Now we can do smaller loans. So that is financial inclusion, right?
Yeah.
It's about reducing the cost to serve. And everyone can get access to it seamlessly with just a simple phone.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Money 2020 Asia, where we begin very strong on day one. Today with me on the bank tellers, I have Simon, who is the CEO of WeLab. And I just realized I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Cheryl. I'm the head of content at Money 2020 Asia. Today with me, I have Simon Loong, CEO of WeLab. Thank you, Simon, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Cheryl. Great to be here.
Fantastic. So I just wanted to, the reason why we started Bank Tellers was to understand the stories, the people behind the banks themselves. So I wanted to find out more on who Simon is, right? So I wanted to understand, how has your 25-year journey in traditional banking shaped your vision for WeLab's fintech innovation?
Yeah, thank you. It didn't feel that long, firstly, because it was split into half. The first 15 years I was in banking, and then I left and then started WeLab. And WeLab, we've been doing this for the last 13-ish years, from a very, very small startup that I co-founded with a co-founder and my wife, up until now, 13 years later. We started off a very humble beginning. We always joke that one of the most treasured memory was there was a startup, another startup opposite the street. They were giving away free IKEA furniture. So we ran across to carry second-hand IKEA furniture desks across the street so that we can get cheap furniture. It started
Bootstrap, right?
Bootstrap. Yeah. So we started like that, and it was fun. And then obviously we were quite lucky that we became bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we've always been lucky in picking the right trends and avoiding certain pitfalls. Oh. I think a couple of trends that we picked up was the emergence of mobile-based lending. We're the first online lender in Hong Kong, and in 2014, we were probably one of the first mobile-based lenders in mainland China. So that helped us a lot. Those were the years when mainland China everyone was upgrading from a feature phone to a very affordable Xiaomi, Oppo, Huawei phone. And that actually helped us to scale up massively. Yeah. And we also avoided pitfalls. At that time, a lot of our competitors were doing P2P lending. And because of our banking background, we felt it's not something that we wanted to do. It's a bit dangerous. So we actually didn't do it. So that saved us as well. And then fast forward, there was also the trend on digital banking. That we're very early adopter to that. I think, and we're also lucky because the Hong Kong regulator, Hong Kong MA, they were also very early. They started looking at this, giving out licenses as early as 2018 and 19. Yeah. So we're one of the earliest adopters of digital banks. So when we actually expanded the same service to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and now we're looking at Thailand, we actually have a lot of track record to show. So it was quite lucky in a way. We always joke that if we were to start exactly the same, but only now in 2025, we'll never be able to make it because the world has become a lot more competitive.
Correct. But you still have your the trend spotting skills that will probably bring you another success, right? That's similar to WeLab. So, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit where you laid out pretty much the entire agenda of what I want to cover. But you mentioned this point on digital lending, and at Money 2020, we do have a couple of various topics on digital lending, especially like P2P lending, alternative data scoring. I wanted to understand, how do you guys do your data scoring? What are the systems that you use? And because coming in as a new entrant, right, how did you use the data that you had to mitigate risks?
So when we first started, that was actually our core strength and DNA, risk management and fraud detection. I actually came from a very strong risk background in banking. I was one of the regional risk officer for Citibank. And so we actually brought in the bank way of risk management, but combine it with alternate data, mobile analytics, behavioral data. And at that time, any data we can find, we try to put in a model to see what makes sense.
Yeah.
So that became a very strong foundation and allowed us to lend completely seamlessly online. Now that is itself is a very strong capability.
Yes.
Because, for example, financial inclusion is a very big topic. Even in the market like Hong Kong, where you felt, well, Hong Kong is a small market, there's no financial inclusion problem. There is, in a sense that because Hong Kong in the past predominantly served all their clients through branches. And you know how expensive rental are in Hong Kong.
Yes, so expensive.
Exactly. So that's why being able to lend digitally allow us to lend cheaply and to everyone. So that for us, the cost to process a loan that is $1 versus $100 is the same cost. Now we can do smaller loans. And when we expand the same idea to mainland China, where there's a much bigger population, or to Indonesia, that became a very big topic, right? How do we actually use that without relying on branches? You can start lending to farmers, people who live in the rural villages. We did a lot of that. That's why, like the World Bank IFC is our shareholder. We won numerous awards on this. In fact, 2 weeks ago, Finance Asia gave us an award for the best digital bank in Hong Kong and also the best bank for financial inclusion as well.
Yeah.
So these are a very important topic. And the other part of this, which is quite interesting, was when you do online lending, actually a big part of the risk came from fraud. Meaning, it's not about that person that you lend to has poor credit. That person is even fictitious. That person doesn't exist or is an identity theft. Online lending has a big problem because when you do not see the person, the fraudster come up with all the most creative ways to defraud you. We always joke that because we're very big online lending, we have like 70 million users, right? Whenever someone come up with the most innovative way to defraud someone, they'll first come and test on me. Because it's so easy, right? When you test on a bank, you meet physically, it's hard. But when you come to an online lender, you thought that they cannot catch you. So that became a very big part of the technology that we built as well. How do we verify people's identity without meeting them face to face? From using different sources of data, facial recognition. We even have AI now that can recognize when you take a selfie, the background of you to see whether the background is similar to other people who have taken the background so that we know whether it's a syndicate.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things we do. And when we enter into new markets, for example, like Thailand, we just announced recently that we've signed an MOU with the Royal Thai Police to share information about fraud detection so that we reduce the financial crime.
Got it. I wanted to also expand on this point because you said that you were lending also to, in terms of like in the vein of financial inclusion, you were also lending to farmers, right? And that started to make me think like, let's say if you have a fish farmer in Tai O, and then because with Hong Kong and with every other country in Asia, we are facing aging population, right? And you rely so heavily on digital lending and as a digital bank. So how do you use your technologies to basically build trust from the older generation?
Yes. We often feel that older people are not tech savvy, but it's actually not the case.
It's not?
It is actually not the case. If you look at my parents, I think they WhatsApp me more than I like.
Good morning.
Yeah, they use their phones a lot. Old people are not untech savvy, but I think it is more about designing the user experience in a way that's intuitive enough that customers of all ages would know how to use them. The analogy is this way. I spoke with a large bank CEO many years ago. They said, Simon, you don't have branches. How can you serve customers? They said, we have branches. Old people come and we explain to them very patiently about like how to do this, how to do that. I said, well, isn't that exactly the problem? You should design products and services that is intuitive enough so that people download the app, they immediately know how to use it. You shouldn't need people to go to a branch and ask you how to use your app.
That's true.
That's right.
That's very true because that reminded me, I was speaking to a UX designer, I think it was almost 10 years ago. There was this Japanese app called Neko no Niwa, which is you take care of cats in basically a mobile game. And I told her that, it's in Japanese, I cannot read it, but it's intuitive enough for me to use the app without even understanding the language. So it's exactly the same even for old people.
And I bet you never need to find out the number of that app and call them when there's a bug, right?
No.
Because it just works, right?
It just works.
Exactly. So that is financial inclusion, right?
Yeah.
It's about reducing the cost to serve. and everyone can get access to it seamlessly with just a simple phone.
Got it. Okay, so I wanted to also double click a little bit on like how you managed to secure a digital banking license, being the very, very first homegrown Hong Kong fintech to ever do so. So what were the challenges and opportunities along the way, being the very first in Hong Kong?
I think that's a very big milestone for us. As also part of our big milestone for our transformation journey, right? Yeah. I think at that time it was a very competitive process. More than 30 applicants, big and small, applying for virtual bank licenses in Hong Kong. And the regulator at that time, I think they were very smart. They picked a combination of incumbents and also new entrants because they see that actually a combination of that actually allow for better services and also allow for newer innovative ideas. And when we entered into other markets like Indonesia, we do the same too as well. We're bringing very new products and services offered to people to solve for financial inclusion.
Got it. So also because now you talked about your expansion into Indonesia, right? And that was the acquisition of this is Bank Jasa Jakarta last year, correct? So I just wanted to understand a little bit more, because especially as the CEO, right, you have this overarching landscape view of everything, right? How would you put things in comparison when you compare like Hong Kong, the unique like threats and opportunities, right, versus Indonesia?
I think we felt that the digital banking trend, right, it's going to happen massively across markets. And we've seen different regulators across Asia, from Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, now Thailand, right, issuing new digital bank licenses. For us, we've done the first bank in Hong Kong. It took us around 12 to 18 months to build the technology. And in order to scale, right, and optimize on the cost, the best is to build the second bank. That's why we used the same technology and went to Indonesia, where we acquired a smaller local bank. And the second bank actually only took us 6 months to build the technology.
Wow.
There's a massive savings in terms of time and money, because we've built the first one, right? And a lot of the know-how experience, we can actually scale there. It turned out the Indonesian bank was extremely successful. Within the first year, we already have 2 million new banking customers.
Wow.
It's one of the fastest scaling bank in Indonesia today. And as we look at other Asian markets, right, it is actually a formula that we're perfected in a way that we can actually replicate into different markets to build digital banks and offer better services.
So also because with your expansion strategy across Asia, I wanted to understand a little bit more, because expanding, so I would say aggressively, but also smartly, right? Because you have already perfected or figured out your formula on how to grow, how to scale. How do you balance local market nuances with a pan-Asian strategy?
I think that fine balance, right, is very important as we scale. I feel we've cracked it very well, right? Firstly, in any market that we go to, the management team is 100% local.
Okay.
So we actually seldom second people on a long-term basis to a new market. I mean, we always offer help, people in short-term assignments and stuff like that. I think because we believe that in the type of markets that we are, consumer insights is extremely important. If you look at Southeast Asia, right, every Southeast Asian market, it is very, very different. Different language, different currency, different user experience, different regulator. So it's always a local team. But at the back of that, the technology, actually a lot of it is standardized, and we use what we have built for Hong Kong and hence adapt to other markets. So I would say around 50-60% of the technology is standardized, and then the rest is localized. So I think that is a very, very fine balance. And then, of course, the marketing is highly localized. But then again, if you look at a lot of the experience of how we built a bank that achieved profitability, now that is universal, right? Making money is universal. You need to make money in any way you go to. And I thought we have perfected that as well. I've proven that. The first bank in Hong Kong, WeLab's Bank, we're able to achieve profitability by the 4th year, which is quite rare. Most digital banks actually don't even make money, or if they do, 5 to 7 years. That is a very important insight and know-how, and we plan to repeat it to Indonesia. And when we get the license in Thailand, we'll repeat to Thailand as well to build a profitable bank.
Got it. I also wanted to talk, because you mentioned, I think, was it 65% of it is based on what you already have, right? And then adapting the rest. So I wanted to talk about WeLab's proprietary AI and basically privacy computing technologies, right? And how that is being how that was being built and how that is being scaled. You talked about fraud detection and how people they try to create fake profiles and you detect that. So that is one instance. What are some other instances where AI is being used in digital banks?
Yeah. So I think if you look at the evolution of AI, right, we've been quite at the forefront of that since the beginning. What we call predictive AI, right? It helps you to predict an occurrence of an event. We predict whether this is a fraudulent customer or this customer borrow will not pay you back, right? I think that the next evolution of that, where we are right now, is generative AI. And we are one of the first banks to come out to say we've locally deployed DeepSeek, where all our customers, all our employees now can use DeepSeek. And it's a local deployment. So it's not a cloud-based deployment. The difference in that is if you go to any large language model today, that if you do not locally deploy, you actually submit sensitive data of your company to some other company's server.
Correct.
And as you know, banking is highly regulated. You deal with a lot of very sensitive customer private information, transactions, and name. You cannot use a public service. It has to be locally deployed. So we did that. That is very essential. That's an essential foundation for upskilling your employees on AI. If your employees feel that when they use an AI service, they are leaking company's data, the company will not promote it, the employees will not feel comfortable using it.
Correct.
But if you can give them a safe, and also it's actually more cost effective to deploy locally, you can do that. It's AI upskilling. And the next evolution of that, right, is AI agent. How do we actually build AI agents to enable us to serve our customers better with full execution, autonomously to execute trades, convince customers, negotiate, sales, everything without the need for human intervention. So that is the next thing that we're building right now.
And back to the trust piece, right? Because as humans, because it is still such new technology, and I wanted to bring the conversation back to the consumers, because you mentioned having AI agents. How do you ensure, or how do you build trust within those levels at your end consumers?
I think trust is it's something that takes time, and also if you build it in a smart way, it can be achieved. Even though if it's a digital brand, right? Being in the market for long enough, being known for doing the right thing, being professional, not doing anything tricky. I think being very transparent. I think that can be done quite effectively. I think secondly, right? If you look at all digital financial services, right, today versus 10 years ago, it's much easier to build trust today. Because people are already using it to order food, order a cab, buying movie tickets, buying groceries. So people are already quite comfortable with using different parts of their financials, every part of their life on the mobile phone. And hence, when you build a financial services on the phone, the adoption is much easier, much higher as well. Now, of course, scale matters, right? Us being in the market, we just recently announced that the Hong Kong government, they have an investment fund called Hong Kong IC, became our shareholder too. So that's a good source of validation that even a Hong Kong government investment fund became our shareholder. So these are actually a lot of things that help us to build credibility and also trust with our customers.
Okay. As we begin to wrap this up, I have one final question for you, Simon. Let's say we were to turn back time by 30 years. What is one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I was never a very good student. I was a pretty bad student.
Neither.
I think that the advice I would give myself is it's even though I was not excelling at schoolwork, right? I mean, the ability to try different things, explore different things, helped me to build my intellectual curiosity, allow me to step out of my comfort zone to do different things. I think just I always remember someone telling me get as uncomfortable as you're comfortable with.
Oh, I like that.
Get as uncomfortable as you're comfortable with. Try new things. You'll find your edge, your niche, your differentiation. Try something different, and you eventually find it. But if you always stick with a single formula, you never know what's out there.
Perfect. And I think that's the perfect way to end this episode of the Bank Tellers. Thank you so much for your time, Simon.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And thank you so much for your insights. I am going to keep that phrase in my mind, get as uncomfortable as you
Are comfortable with.
are comfortable with. I am going to keep that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.